the exact words, and the whole time he's saying this, right? He has his hand, you know, right on his belt, right? And it's like it's super dark. Like I can't stress that enough. Like if I was to turn off all the lights in here right now, you probably wouldn't be able to see me. But he had his hand here, but I could see him because he had his headlights on, and he had his hand on his belt, and he's like, "Okay," because we just don't see a lot of your kind around here. Like those was his exact words. Like I'll never forget that. I was like, "Oh, okay." And then that's when I was like, I pulled the yeah. Well, I just left from the University of Utah game. I play for the school, and he was like, "Oh, okay. Have a good night." And then he left. And my two roommates are already inside. So I come inside. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, bro, what the hell just happened? And I walk inside. I'm like, bro, this police officer just like I just told them exactly what just happened, and they're like, what the hell, right? And I'm like,
Hmm.
that was definitely like the scariest time of my life because then I see so many of these instances where it doesn't turn out like that for a lot of people, right? And it's so
Hmm.
crazy to think that
Hmm.
just because the color of your skin, the stereotype that are out there about you know minorities that, and I'm not saying that every police officer is terrible or that being a police officer isn't hard,
Hmm.
right? Because I don't live their life, like I don't, so I don't know what it is like to be in that situation and things like that. And you like you never know, but like that was definitely just the craziest time for me, just because that was the first time I actually ever experienced it in that type of way. Because that was strictly nothing but white versus black to me.
That's so interesting. Firstly, like I lived in Cottonwood Heights as well. That's where I
Mm,
was when I was over in Utah. So it's a tiny world. But for me, like police in general, and some of the things which you said about how you react when you see a police car or where you check up to see the area, like I'm similar with that. And the downside of that is that when you say this to some people, they'll be saying, well, why are you like that? Are you doing something wrong? Well, no, I'm not doing something wrong. I just worry for my safety. And the reason
exactly.
and the reason I worry for my safety is like as far as police go, as you said, there are tons of good police, I'm sure, and some of the jobs that they do are fantastic and so on. But in my life, I've always felt less safe around police than I have with them. And that's
Mm,
because whenever I see police nearby, I'm worried that they're looking at me thinking I'm going to do something, that I'm the criminal in this space. And as a consequence, it gets me on the back foot and I don't relax. Like some people, they'll see police officers and they'll be like going over high fiving them. Like, oh, it's great to see you guys are great. This, that, and the other. I'm not going anywhere near them because in my
yeah.
life, I've had those experiences where they look at me funny and I'm like, I'm just trying to mind my business, you know, and it's a shame. It's a shame you have to live that life and just see things through that perspective. But I'd say in the last 18 months, finally being able to say stuff like that out in the open and have some people accept it and actually
Yeah.
hear it for once, that's progress. You know,
Yeah.
that's progress in itself. Like we shouldn't necessarily be in that situation, but that's progress because for years, it just like you'd say it to your friends who are like you, who are also going through it. Like when you get followed around the store or something by security, you'd be like, you do it, and you'd be like, say to your like friends, "Oh, they did it to me as well," blah blah blah. Instead of just saying, "Well, this is wrong. This shouldn't be
Yeah.
the way it's going to be." But then again, like, sorry, you've triggered me off. You've let me go there. You've set me off. It's the it's the thing about like in my opinion when you don't see a lot of somebody, like if you make up a minority as such, your portrayal in the media and stuff like that will dictate a lot how people will first feel when they see it. Because it's in the same way, I remember after September 11th, people were terrified of being on a plane with Arab looking people.
Yeah.
But like that was in their subconscious and that hit them hard. They weren't looking out for it. It's like they just hit them hard because that's what they see. But then you look at the way that say some of us are portrayed, because you know that they're criminals of all races, walks of life, sexes, everything they exist.
Yeah.
But when people see a black person on TV, oh, he's a gangbanger, he's a drug dealer, he's a this, he's a that. So then when they see somebody on the street, see the black person who's seen in weeks on the street for the first time, well, that must be who they are. That must be what they do. And
Hmm.
all the while, like to again, like I've got no real issue with police as such, but when you look at it, all the police programs we've seen in our lifetimes have portrayed them as being heroes. So that's why some people love the police but have never had an interaction with them. But then the
Yeah.
opposite is true for people who form minorities because they might not have seen a ton of them in their lifetimes, but the perception is they're like criminals. They're going to steal this, they're going to do that, going to do drugs, do whatever. And it's that sort of disconnect that sort of dictates the lives of so many different people, myself and yourself included.
Yeah. Like I tell people, like this is stuff we have to teach our kids at the end of the day. Like, if you like, I think when you say that to people, sometimes like the people I've talked to, and I'm just like, this is stuff we have to teach our kids how to,
Mm,
almost police etiquette in a car in a sense. Like, make sure your hands are on, the steering wheel. Make sure you don't do this. Make sure you don't do that. Do not talk back. Right? Like you see certain like if you'll see a movie where a white guy or whatever will speak to the police officer, with chest, like just strongly, and the police officer will apologize. Like then you started like, bro, then like everyone does it. You're like, bro, imagine if that was, a minority, like what would happen? Like what would be, you know, the consequences of that, right? And I'm like, as I get into this mindset of, starting family and things like that, I'm like, bro, this is stuff that is real life. Like it's not just me, right? Because I didn't grow up having someone teach me that. I kind
mm,
of just learned this stuff through other people, seeing other things. It's like social media and stuff like that, right? And now I'm like, this is something I have to have a talk about, right? Because you don't want your kid to, or anybody in your family to have any fatal incident with definitely something like this, right? And it's like you have to be able to now have a talk, conversate, about this type of thing, because this is at the end of the day, you know, a reality in our world. It doesn't matter if the cameras are out now, almost in a sense, because it still happens. Um, like I tell my girl, I'm like, if I wasn't an athlete, like if people didn't know me, right? Like if I didn't play football and you just see me, a bigger kind of dude, dreads, and I'm in a car, and I like to wear black. Like I don't like to wear colorful stuff. Right? I'm not that dude. I like a just beanie on, hat on, whatever. Like, what would be the outcome every single time? Right? Like, how would I get treated? Like, I've been pulled over in Utah, and I'll hand them my license, and it'll be, oh, Zach Boss, go ahead, right? Like that's what it is. Like I've been pulled over different places before, and a lot of times they just know who I was and they just let me go, right? And I'm like, what if I wasn't an athlete though? Right? Like, why am I being treated differently because I'm an athlete versus the same person that looks just like me that could have been doing the same thing as me, and just because he's not an athlete, but he's a human, I'm a human. I made a mistake, but just because of what I do
mm.
makes me better, or allows you to think that, oh, just because you're a fan, you're like, like, not saying I want the ticket, but it's just like, why that just goes to my brain. It's like, if I wasn't an athlete, like my life, the way people perceive me, you know what I mean, would be so much different. And it's just like these athletes who speak up about all this social injustice stuff, and they start seeing the same fans that supported them all their life don't really align with them when it comes to certain things, right? And I'm
Yeah,
like it's crazy.
they love it. They I think they love you when you represent them, and they
Hmm.
love you to the next level when you represent them well. If you're wearing their jersey, representing their town, and you're winning Super Bowls or you're like getting 100-yard games or whatever, like you're the king to them. They don't even
Yeah,
see your race; it's irrelevant. When you're not doing it, and it seems like you're not representing them in the way that they want, what do they go to first? And it's the stuff that makes you different from them.
Yeah.
and being a sort of minority or whatever, like this is it's mad. We see it all the time, and as I say, this isn't necessarily like an attack on the police or anything like that, because it's as I say, there are tons of people who do try to keep people safe and all this, but there is such a double standard, and we see it the most in sport, because sport, like that sort of tribalism that exists within it, it could exist whether you are black, white, whatever. Like when you're playing for their team, you're king. The moment you speak about that fan base or whatever, bro, they will get you out of here within seconds. That is
It's
it's
true.
insanity. And when you step back and try and look at it, logically it makes no sense. And that's when you realize like sports, it's yeah, what a place to be at.
Yeah. Like I think we forget sometimes as athletes, sports is kind of what makes the world go in a sense, right? Like if you take out sports,
Mm,
sports is such a huge uniting thing for so many people.
mm,
Like if you take out sports, is the world worse because we're not as united,
mm,
right? Sometimes you see people get
mm,
together with all these different type of people, right? It could be Mexicans, it can be African Americans, it can be Puerto Ricans. They're all, let's say they all go to a bar to watch a football game, basketball game, whatever, and they have the best times of their lives, right? Forgetting skin color, forgetting whatever, right? Say we don't have sports, what is uniting us, right? Like we already have so many problems in the world right now as it is with sports, with all this uniting, right? What what unites us if we don't have sports? Like how worse could the world be, right?
mm.
Like you don't
I
know,
think
right?
yeah, I think yeah, for sure. I think it's for me, like I agree with the sports thing. I think the only other example is music. I say sports and music are the two things which unite people together to show love towards something, to share a common love of something or
Yeah.
somebody in particular. Don't get me wrong, you find some hate within that as well. Like, you're not gonna be having, say, some team here and then all of a sudden you don't hate the rival. Like you have to hate the rival. That's part of the thing. But
Yeah.
you share that with somebody else. But yeah, you look back at 2020, and for some people, the start of the end of the pandemic for some people was when sports came back because they could see it on their TVs again, and that was their first taste of normality. Like everything else around them could have been on fire, but they were watching
Exactly.
like the Monday Night Football. They were happy. They were set. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
they could get focused for the coming week and stuff like that. So it does.
Yeah.
You're right about
That's
sports. It's huge. It's so big.
yeah. It's a crazy world that we live in, and I always try to tell friends, family that yes, it's crazy, right? But the world wouldn't be the world without trials and tribulations, and you kind of just have to make
So
it
it's a fact.
the best that you can make it, right? Like, yeah, you want to stay in your lane and things like that, but it's a lot of good things in this world, and you kind of just have to focus on those things and just trying to overcome whatever negativity may come to you at the end of the day, because it could be worse in the world, it could be better, and at the end of the day, we're still going to have these problems
Mhm.
where we're still going to be tested, and a lot of these things are tests for all of us. So that's kind of how I look at it, and that's kind
Mhm.
of how I just keep going um, through it all, just learning and just understanding that this is all a test, you know, to make myself better, make the people around me better, people I care about. And I just try to do that. I just try to, I've been lucky to have my girlfriend now for 3 years, and you know, I'm sure like people see us do things on social media, things like that, and like I'm just happy I have someone to share positivity with, right?
Mhm.
Like it just it makes life so much better when you have someone that has those same qualities, that same mindset. Because she's a minority as well. She's Mexican. And we go through things, we see things. She's like, man, someone looked at me totally weird today, and things like that. And I'm like, it's normal. And then you think about having kids, um, you know, a black and a Mexican kid together. And I'm like, yeah, this is a world that we have to teach them in, grow them up in, and things like that. And it's going to be different from obviously when we were growing up and things like that. Just because like all these little kids have social media now and they know how to work social media better than a lot of older people, and it's funny. But like, yeah, like you just gotta definitely pass as much positivity as you can on to the next person, and just hope that it becomes
Yeah,
contagious.
facts,
That's all you can hope for.
facts, facts, man. That's it in a nutshell. I think the key thing is just to add value. You don't need to have a huge circle, but if you have people in it, like with your girlfriend, like with your friends, with your family, like you get good
Yeah,
people around you and you make their lives better, then you live a good life yourself. You be smiling, and you said that happiness is contagious. Like a smile, that's what's contagious. You'd be amazed when you see somebody and you smile for the first time. Like
yeah,
it's very hard for people to frown. So that little bit of positivity sets the tone for any encounter. So like, I'm happy for you, man. Like I forget sometimes, like you're still in your 20s. Like I'm a big man from mid 30s, but you're still in your 20s. But I like this. Like it's a positive outlook. It's gonna get you
yeah.
far, man, with the right people around you for sure.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that. But let's we've talked a lot about a lot. let's switch
Yeah,
uh
exactly.
let's switch a little bit into back into soccer. Um Tell us about, you touched on it earlier. Tell us about, obviously you played for Manchester City. Um Tell us how it was
Mm,
playing with some of the people that you played with, and some of the people that you played against. Like I said, like playing in the NFL now, I've played against
yeah.
and with, and it's crazy. So I'm like, I know even in soccer, it's even crazier.
Yeah, for sure. I think in terms of myself, like I was a good player. I was never the best player, but I was somebody who all the teammates which I had across the years, they trusted and they enjoyed playing with. And through that time, I've ended up playing against some of the names which, anybody that knows anything about soccer has heard of. Played against Messi. I played a couple of times against Cristiano Ronaldo. Played a couple of times against Zlatan Ibrahimovic. There are tons of other people like that. I played with some players like Vincent Company, Sergio Aguero's, like I played a lot of games. I saw a lot of things, and I
Hmm.
think for my age, I sort of caught the era. Thierry Henry's as well. So I caught the era of like say Thierry Henry's and stuff. Then Ronaldo is a little bit older than me, and then in this sort of more recent times now, you're seeing some of the younger cats who and Rooney as well. There's honestly so many. You find it throwing it back here, and like that's those are games like Manchester derbies, and being a guy from Manchester to get the chance to play for my boyhood team because I used to work as a ball boy in the stadium, in the old stadium. I saw them when they
Yeah,
were struggling, made it into the team, played for a few years, made it. The last year I was there was the year when they won the league, and now you look at them, they're like a dynasty now. But to have seen all that and to have been a part of it, like as I sit back now, just relaxing and not having to play 50 games a season anymore. I can appreciate I played in some of the biggest stadiums against some of the best teams, some of the best players, and it's incredible. Man City are an incredible team now. Like I'm doing some work for them now with, say, from the charity side, doing some media for them.
yeah,
But it's great, man. It's great. Soccer's like it's a great game, and my team, which is City, and like they used to be big, but now they're global. And I think wherever you go now, there will be some conversation about if they know soccer, they know about Man City because they're one of the best teams in the world.
yeah. I think I've played on FIFA with y'all before, for sure.
But you're a FIFA man, eh? Okay, okay, okay. I like it. I like it.
I've played it here and there. I'm terrible. You know what I mean? Like
It's fine. Who's
bad.
good? Who's
I'm
good? Yeah,
bad.
that's fine,
I
man. That's
actually
fine, man.
I actually know some dudes, man, that get down on FIFA. We had one of our punters. Um, he was from Australia, Mitch Wisnowski, and
Hmm.
he's actually the punter now for the 49ers. But he
Okay.
was like special team players, kickers, punters. They don't do much, right? Like they just kick here and there and things like that. And we would be in practice, and in Utah, the players lounge, you can see it. Like you can see right into it from the practice field. And these guys would be in there playing table tennis while we we're at practice, playing table tennis, playing FIFA. And that's kind of where I started playing it because I started watching them. And I'm like, bro, these dudes are like hella good. And then like one of the coolest things to me for me was the celebrations. I think y'all have some great ass celebrations,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think like the players in the
For sure.
league in the NFL, like they try to do good celebrations, and I'm sure you see some celebrations. You're like, okay, that's smooth, but like some of the celebrations I've
Yeah.
seen, sometimes you'll see them on like Sports Center's top 10 and shit like that, and they'll be like super dope. And I feel like that's like one of the most funnest parts of the game. But like you say, you played against Messi, right? And like, to me, all right, who who do you think if you had to start a team tomorrow? Messi in his prime,
Mm-hmm.
Ronaldo in his prime. Who are you picking and why?
Messi in his prime. Messi in his prime. Like Ronaldo is incredible. You know, his record is incredible, and you could argue if anybody says that he's better than Messi, like they're entitled to that opinion because he's got
Yeah,
the numbers. But in terms of like natural ability, in terms of how it looks, like Messi's different, man. He's just different. Like the game looks so easy to him. Like he's playing the game against like youngsters as a vet. Like it's so easy for him. Like it's insane, and
yeah,
he's so nice with it. The stuff he was doing, like some of the finishes, the dribbles, the passes, the elegance. Like Ronaldo's a machine, scores a ton of goals. He's like almost robotic in terms of how he's almost guaranteed to score. But the way that Messi does it, like he gets the ball at his feet, and just anything could happen anywhere on the field. And it's not just about him scoring. He might give an assist that nobody's ever seen before, and you're like, yo, that dude's like, he's different, man. Like he's just a little killer, man. Like, oh god, yeah. When he came on the field that game, like he only came on for like 30 minutes because it was like a preseason type thing,
yeah,
and he just felt different. He just felt different. Like you know yourself. There's some people who we're playing world peers, but he was on the field, and I was like, oh, like he just runs different. He just looks different, and he's one of
yeah,
them as well. Like I don't even go around introducing myself saying I am a professional soccer player or I was a professional soccer player. I wouldn't do it. Would never do that anyway. But if he was in the same place as me, and somebody
yeah,
asked me what I did for a job, I'd be like, "No, not much, man. I'm just in between things. You know, I like no, he's different. If you say he's a footballer, you're not gonna say I am. Nah, like, I'm not doing what he's doing. He's doing something different to me and everybody else for sure.
yeah, yeah. Not like I said, I don't know a ton about soccer, but like I know Messi is like world renowned, like one of the greatest
Yeah.
ever. Didn't he just sign a new team? Didn't he just go to a new team?
Facts.
Okay. See, I seen that because it was
Yeah, signed for Paris Saint-Germain. Like the coolest kits, the coolest jerseys in the world. Yeah, man. Like
yeah, I seen
he's
like
him leaving
Jordan
Barcelona is
brand.
like it kind of feels like Brady leaving the Patriots.
Mm, that's
It's
crazy.
weird, but he's still
That's
a killer.
crazy.
But he's still a killer, man. For real.
How old is he?
He's 34, I think.
Oh, really? How long
34.
can you
Mm.
what's like the almost the shelf life?
It depends. It depends.
Depends.
It depends. It depends. For how good he is, like he's been scoring more goals than everybody for the last 15 years anyway. So
Mm.
even if he drops down to his next level, he's still going to be scoring more goals than everybody anyway. So he could be playing for another 5 years, 6 years if he wants to. But at the end of the day, for him, I think he has to enjoy it. And that's the case for like Ronaldo. If they don't enjoy it, they probably will stop playing because they've achieved everything that needs to be achieved in like soccer, apart from maybe like a World Cup. So they're nice, man. They're the pinnacle of soccer, and soccer is a global sport. So they're chilling. They can keep playing to the 50 if they want to, because somebody will want them somewhere because they're just so good.
Yeah. Are you guys like ever sore? Because I know y'all you play for so long and you run up and down.
Yeah,
Like I hate running.
yeah,
I'm a running back and I hate having to run. Just like if constantly you guys run like
yeah.
nonstop.
I yeah. So I hated running as well. So for me, in my position I'd play, I'd always try and run as little as possible, but have the biggest impact possible. So I
Yeah.
was more about efficiency. But
Mm.
say in terms of a game, the people that run the most, they're probably going to run 7, 8 miles in a game, of which like high intensity stuff is probably going to be maybe seven, also maybe like 3/4 of a mile, maybe higher. So it's relentless. Like these guys, they go and they go and they go and they go, and then when it comes down to it, like I was going to say, yeah, you do get sore because you cover so much distance, and as well
See,
for the
wait.
position I played, it's physical. Like, I know you like your physical back and all this stuff. You like contact. Go on.
Mm. You said
What you say?
7-8 miles.
Miles, I was saying, yeah, 7, 8 miles per game, yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
I'm stunned. Like if I don't know if I could really run a
Exactly.
mile or two. Like I don't really know.
This
Nothing
and
tells me to go outside and go try
it's
it either.
like yeah, exactly. But that wasn't me. I'd be doing 5 if that. But it's the nature of the miles as well because it's constantly changing direction. It's back, it's forward, it's side to
Yeah.
side. Like you don't have the collisions, but then you also don't have the breaks. When you're tired, nobody's going to call a timeout. Like you just keep going. You fight it, you fight it, you fight it, and then you do get tired afterwards for like a couple of days. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. Like that season there where I was captain, I played in every league, every minute of every league game and 2 cup games. I finished with 50 games that year. So it's 50 lots of like 5 to 6 miles every Saturday, Tuesday, collisions, like headers, scars, everything, like the works, man. That's just the game itself.
How much do you practice? Like how much like for because I want to like give people a comparison between the two footballs. Um like I know for us we play once a week for 60 minutes and we meet right, like I'll give you my schedule. Like on a Monday we'll probably meet for like an hour or two, but we're probably inside the building maybe like 6 hours on a Monday, right? Tuesday we're off.
Oh,
Wednesday
okay.
we're in the building for 11 hours, right? 7 to 6 every, you know what I mean? So Wednesday, Thursday, 7 to 6, right? And we're only on the field for maybe an hour and a half, almost 2 hours, right? Everything else is meetings, walkthroughs, taking care of your body, right? Like so, like 7 to 6, pretty much every Wednesday and Thursday. Friday we get, I'll say like 8 to 1, 8 to 1 Friday. Um, and then Saturday we're pretty good. I think we meet maybe like 3 hours out of that day, right?
Mm,
And like like Christian Wade was on the show
hmm.
last week, and he was telling me about because in rugby they don't practice that much, and they definitely don't meet like have meetings that much, right? And we're so used to being in meetings like just playing football because it's like we've been doing it for since we were in high school. In college you
Hmm.
get used to it, and then when you get to the pros this is your life, so they kind of just tack on the hours because you got nothing else to do anyways. But like give the people like a breakdown kind of in the sense of how our schedule is versus your guys because we practice every single day, um to go
Yeah.
out there and do
So
once a week.
so we ours is a bit different because at times you can play twice a week. So you might play the Saturday, you might play the Tuesday. So with that, you'll train less. When you get into that mode, you train less. But in
Mhm.
terms of us, rugby is the same as football in the fact that you don't do a ton of meetings. Like we tend to have meeting days on a Thursday when you look at the opposition, and Friday where maybe you look at things which you're going to do yourself in the game on the Saturday. But even still, it's not very long, and the culture is very much against meetings because people tune out. The longer a meeting is, the more people. Like I've seen people fall asleep in these meetings and things like that.
Yeah.
Like somebody could be just showing a video of the opposition, and people are just out like a light. But it's because like our sport, in terms of details, isn't it's not specific as you guys. When you call plays and it features 11 people all doing certain things, like for us, that's
Mhm.
like a corner kick or a free kick, but we don't have that many variations of it. So for us, it's more about just general like flow and tactics and identity and things like that. So we'll train Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and we'll probably get into the facility for around like 9. And most people have left by 2. But you'd only be on the field for maybe 2 hours. Then you might do some strength on a Tuesday and on a Thursday. But it's not really that long, but it can be quite taxing because when it comes down to distance and stuff like that,
Yeah.
like on a Tuesday, especially, the Tuesday is the replica of like a game day. So that's hard. Tuesdays are hard. Thursdays are long. And then Friday is like a little sharpener before playing the game on a Saturday. So physically, you don't really get tired from training. But come game day, like, because it's so variable, like, that's the real test. That is the real test for sure.
So so y'all run full speed, like just going at it in practice?
Bang, 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 bang. Every day. That's it. Regular. Like no questions
It,
asked. If it's as long as it's not a foul, then it's fair. If it's a foul, then it's not fair. But everything else is like competitiveness to because they say you need to replicate. You train
game
how you
speed.
play. So
Yeah.
for us, exactly. So it's game speed from Monday all the way through till game day on the Saturday. Like no questions. And it's like as you see from some of the like little clips and stuff, like it's serious because like I play, so I'm 6 foot, yeah. And when we'd be marking from corners and things like this, I would be marking somebody. There was like a 3 week period where I was marking somebody that was like 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", and they're like 210 pounds and stuff like this. Like if the ball's up in the air and you have to stop this person and they've got that height advantage and maybe a bit of a weight advantage, like it's not about like just tippy tap. You have to be physical. So it has to be a physical game. And if you don't practice it through the week, then come game day you'll be found lacking. So yeah, it's just the standard.
There's a lot of ice bags on shins, that's for sure. I know that.
I've got plenty cuts, bruises, everything, man. But it's all good, man. It's all worth it in the end.
It's fun, huh? It's fun. People never understand it. It's like this is what I do. Like this is fun. Like this is what I like to do. Like I've I break a I've broken this, I've broken
And
that.
it's
I've
more fun when you win.
yeah, yeah. If you're not winning, then it's definitely not fun. And
Yeah, but when you win, it's hella fun. Yeah.
yeah, thankfully I haven't been on many teams where we're not winning. Like thankfully I've been able to play on the successful teams quite a bit. So like I don't know how certain teams do it where like they lose because it's already a grind every week, every day
Yeah, yeah.
to do it, and when you win, it makes it just a little bit sweeter, right? And then say you just
Mm,
losing week in, week out, and you know that you're practicing to lose in a sense. It's like no,
yeah.
I can't do
And when
this. I can't do this.
and when the people are like giving the speeches before the game saying this is our day today, we can do this. Like in week 1, you believe it. Come week 10,
Yeah,
week 11, it's like
it's like
yeah, here we
all
go.
right, let's just get to the off season.
Exactly,
let's
exactly,
just
man.
start. Let's just start over. But
Yeah.
tell us about um playing for the national team. You know what that meant to you.
So interestingly, I didn't play for full national team. I played for the U21s, which is like it's the second highest tier you can play for, and that was for England under 21s. But the interesting thing is, I could have played for Nigeria as well. And um, as I said earlier, I got a lot of criticism when I played for England under 21s. But the difference is when you're living in England, if England say they're going to call you up to play for them, like it's not a yes or no question. Like there's a car waiting outside your house to take you to the training camp. Like it just happens.
Yeah.
And the sort of value of doing it like there's a tangible benefit to your career whilst you're in England. So it just happens and you have no say in it. And I enjoyed it because, like I said, I was raised in England, but I wasn't born there. So some of the stuff which some people would be saying about national pride and identity and this, that, and the other, like I wasn't really fully on board because, like my the only people from my family who weren't born in Nigeria are my kids, because my kids
Mhm.
have been in England for the last like 7 years or so. But
Yeah.
like that's my bloodline. That's my mother, my father, my uncles, my aunts, like cousins, everything. So to play for the national team was great, but then it's always a bit dicey with England and other places because whilst you're doing well, everything's great. But when you're not doing well, all of a sudden your last name sounds a bit funny. Your first name sounds a bit funny. That sounds a bit suspicious. Doesn't sound like you're really from Manchester. Like you don't want to play for us. You will send you back to where you came from.
Yeah.
But thankfully I played well enough to not have too much of that. But yeah, being recognized nationally was great because when you think about the amount of people that would love to do what you do, to be seen as
Yeah.
being the best in the country for whether it's an age group or just for the full national team, like it's a huge achievement. And I came close a couple of times to playing to getting into the squads for the full national team as well. So I really, really did enjoy it. And yeah, these pictures here of me in America, man, it's all good, man. Looking back, I had some really good times.
Yeah, that's my next question. Tell us, I mean, from being in Manchester, coming to Utah, coming to America, playing for
Mm-hmm.
Real Salt Lake, what made you
Mm-hmm.
want to take on that?
Okay, so I was actually playing in London for Queens Park Rangers at the time. I'd been there for 6.5 years, and then the opportunity came to be able to go somewhere as a free agent. And it's not like an American free agent where you need to play like 10 years and have like 10 bonus points with whatever. Like it's just
Hmm.
if you're out of contract, you're a free agent. You can go where you want, earn what you
Yeah.
want. So I said, let me see where I could go with this. And I was looking all around the world, and then the opportunity to come to America came into my mind, and I couldn't take it out of there because I thought I could enjoy this. I'd seen the MLS for years. I'd seen people play. One of my really good friends, Brother Wright Phillips, was over there for New York Red Bulls at the time, and I
Hmm.
thought this could be really good. So then I looked into who could bring a player over when I wanted to go over there, and the options went down to like 4 or 5 because of international spots. And then from there, like the club that came in with the best initial offer in terms of time was Real Salt Lake. And to be clear, people were telling me, "Oh, don't, you go to the MLS, it's great, but don't go to Utah." And I was like, "Oh, why not? Why shouldn't I go to Utah or whatever?" I said, "It's weird." They said it's weird, but it turned out from when I went there, I'll tell you as a fact, as a guy who has a wife and 3 children, it's the most enjoyable 2.5 years of my career because you've seen a lifestyle out there, man. Like, if you want to be out, if you want to do stuff for the family, like it's perfect. I didn't
Hmm.
want to be in like a big city going to the clubs and whatever. Like, I'm a private guy.
Yeah.
And every day I'd wake up at the base of those mountains and I'd do the drive to work. And I was like, there was not one day where it got old. Like, it was always beautiful. And it made me appreciate the little things the whole time. And I met
Yeah.
some really good people there, some great friends there. Obviously, it has its sort of like uniqueness, but the good people that are there made my time there fantastic. And like every time,
Yeah.
every so often when I see pictures like that, I think, yeah, man, I had some good times there, man. Some really, really good times. And I loved it. We were pretty successful. We just fell at the final hurdle in the conference championships. But yeah, I loved it, man. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah. People always ask me, Zach, how did you get all the way to Utah from Miami? Right. And I'm like, I mean, I just wanted to go play football where they would give me opportunity to play as a freshman. Right. That's always my answer. And, you know, that was the first decision I ever made by myself. Like 100% by myself. Like I didn't ask, I didn't really rely on my mom to kind of give me full guidance on it. Right. Um, I didn't ask brothers and sisters. Really didn't ask a lot of people, right? I just kind of took my whole decision into my own hands. And I always try to tell people about Utah. Like they're like, "Did you like it?" It's always they're like, "I know it's a huge culture shock," and I'm like,
Hmm.
"Yeah, it is in its own way." I think anywhere you go outside of Miami is going to be a culture shock because Miami is just so diverse and it's so hard to go to places like that. Um, but people just never understand how like really nice Utah is, right? Like I don't feel like if you never spent time there, right? If you just kind of go to see the national parks or come ski, you know what I mean, for a couple of days or something like that, you really don't get the full experience of it. And like for some reason, like how you said, like you enjoyed Utah for the 2.5 years you were there. And like sometimes I look
mm,
back and I'm like, man, I can kind of see myself living here, which is so weird because
mm,
I'm a Miami boy, Florida boy all the way through, but I'm not a city guy. You know what I mean? Like I don't love to
mm,
be in the city. Like you said, I'm private as well. Like I'm always closed closed in. I'm always, by myself and things like that in a sense. And Utah is the perfect place, I think, just because a lot of people don't bother you. You know what I mean? Like if you are
mm,
an athlete, you go into a city, like every time you go somewhere, people stopping you, people bothering you, taking pictures and things like that. But Utah is just so much different because everyone's, in a sense, the experience I got anyways, was people are laid back. And I want, like, when I'm done,
mm,
I want to be able to go somewhere where I can be myself, right? As in be laid back, um, in a sense, not worry about too much stuff. And I just want to have a lot of space, a lot of land. For some reason, like I'm not a
mm,
country person,
mm.
but I have like this country itching. Like for some odd reason, like it's like I don't know why. Like this is the first time I'm ever saying this like out there, besides to my girlfriend. It's
Yeah.
like I want to, like, for some reason I want like ATVs. I just want to have a few of those. Just go outside, go in the backyard, hit the dirt roads. And
Mm,
maybe it's because I've done it in Utah, and it's just so calming. And it's such a cool experience to be just out there in nature. Put your phone down. Not worried
mhm,
about this. You kind of get away from everything, and it's so like just peaceful. You kind of feel like you're just one with the world, at the same
mm.
time you're having fun. Like I gotta tell her, like, she thinks I'm be joking, but I'm like, I'm gonna start a garden. Like I'm gonna be gardening. Like after football, like I'm gonna have a garden. I'm gonna have like some things in the backyard where if you want to come see me, I'll be back there. You know where to find me. Like for some reason,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
that's
man.
that's what I'm envisioning.
Yeah. Do
That's
you
for
know
some
what as
reason.
well with Utah, like the thing which is slept on, which I've forgotten about since I came back to Manchester. Bro, there's no traffic. Like traffic was not a thing.
Yeah, it
Bro,
really
after two
wasn't.
and a
It
half
really
years, I
wasn't.
was getting wherever I needed to get to, stress free. I came back
That's
home
true.
and I'm like just sitting at the wheel thinking, what is life? It's different, man. Different times now.
Yeah, I lived in Cali. I did Cali for a few months, and that was terrible. The
Mm,
traffic there is terrible. Like Miami is terrible. Um, Buffalo isn't that bad. And I mean, it's kind of obvious why a lot of people don't really come here, but
mm,
it's not. The traffic here is lovely, but Utah was really good on traffic. It was. It was. I mean,
mm.
like you said, like those mountains. When I remember when I first got there, I used to send pictures to my mom, and I'd be like, I'll send her a picture, and it looked like the mountain was like just like stitched back there. Like it felt so close to you,
Mm, mm,
and it was crazy. I'm like, bro,
mm.
these mountains, because I've never seen mountains. I never really seen hills being from Miami.
Same.
So when I went out there and I seen all this stuff, and I was like, man, this is definitely the greatest decision I ever made in my life, because it catapulted me now to meet different people, experience different things, grow up by myself in a sense, um, to challenge myself, because that's really all it was it's a huge challenge, um, getting myself ready for life that I don't think I would have really experienced because I was committed to University of Miami. So
Mm.
I don't think I would have got that same experience, um, staying home and things like that. So Utah definitely always has a place in my heart for sure. Yeah. But my last
So,
question for you,
go on.
my last question for you. The fan bases
Mm.
playing for Real Salt Lake and then playing over in Manchester. What was the biggest difference uh for you when that you noticed anyways, when it came to things like that?
So the biggest difference, like by an absolute mile, was say outside of the United States, like soccer is life or death. It's closer towards like say, college football than it is to NFL, because the team is in this location. You've got generations of fan bases and things like this. Yeah,
Right.
like it's in your bloodline. It's that type of thing. You're not going to go anywhere. This is the team. And some of the rivalries like have existed for hundreds of years. Like Manchester hates Liverpool, so when you go through Manchester City and or Manchester United and like Liverpool, like it's an actual rivalry that's been historic. So sometimes you'd feel that in the stands. Like when you play for a team, you need to know the history because the history is like in people's blood. If you lose a game against this team, like it's ending your existence in the city. Like it's life or death every time you step into the arena.
Yeah.
And that's cool because it can bring out the best in you sometimes. But the downside of that is, especially during my time at QPR, because it's like it was a great place when we were winning, but when we weren't winning, like it could get quite fierce. And as
Yeah.
somebody who had three kids who are one young kids who are wanting to take to the game, I never felt as comfortable taking them to the game to have the experience because I knew that there were people who were sitting around who were arriving at that game with the life or death mentality about it. And it's
Yeah.
going more than just supporting their team. They're going there to like bay for blood. Whereas when I was in Utah, it's the type of place where like it's so much more family orientated. So I
Yeah.
brought my kids to all the games. And as well as that, like they'd get there and if it's cold, people are offering blankets because that's just the
Yeah.
norm. You offer someone a blanket in England, like they'll strangle you with it. Like it's over for you. So that was a big difference. Like they get behind their team, but the results aren't the defining factor of whether they like you or they don't. Like
Yeah.
they're just happy that you represent them. Like when I first came over, people saying we're so happy that you're coming here to represent us. Like they didn't care about anything else or whatever. It says, oh, thank you for representing us. And that's a nice feeling. And my kids enjoyed it and they got to see me play in the last few years of my career. And I'm happy about that because, as I say, if they would have seen it from the perspective of being back in England, then
Yeah.
if they're not in like hospitality, then they'd be in a sort of like nuts, just out in the crowd hearing some of the wildest things you've ever heard, where people literally hate the opposition, hate referees, hate the league, hate everything. Whereas there's more love at RSL and as a consequence, like it was a great experience to have.
That's dope. That's dope. I love that your kids came and were able to see you play. I feel like that's such a big
Mm,
part that I definitely want to have that experience with that because I feel like it's different when you can they grow up, you show them pictures and things like that. But I feel like when they get to see you, maybe
100%.
they give that drive in them as well, and everything like that. So that's I love that because I definitely want to have that experience with my kids. But yeah, man,
For sure.
that's
I'm sure you will.
yeah, we probably will. But I appreciate you, man, hopping on with me and kicking back um and just talking, man, because this was definitely one of the one episodes that I wanted to talk a little bit more about a lot of other things going on in the world because I know you're big into that stuff, and you are definitely, for lack of a better word, woke to the things that's actually happening and the things that actually matter, more than sports and everything like that. Um,
Hmm. For
but
sure, man.
tell the people where we can find your pod, Kickback Needham, so that you
Yeah.
know.
So it's kickback with Nedum and it's available everywhere. But if you want to find me, it's kickback underscore Nedum. That's Nedum, and that's on Twitter and on Instagram. And if you want to hear the episode with your boy Zack Moss, that's definitely in there. You should give that a click because I got the early scoop before he got out there and now is the big NFL star. I caught him when he was still driving his 10-year-old car. But yeah, like yeah, but thanks for having me on, man. I've enjoyed this. I've enjoyed this. It's good to see you doing your thing on a weekly basis, and see you even having a mic in front of your face as well.
Mm,
It's good to have the skills.
yeah, man. Thank to you because I don't know if I would have ever did it if I didn't do yours. So I'll definitely make sure I post our episode again to get that back rolling out there so people can listen to that because that was a really good one. We talked about a lot of stuff,
Hmm.
and that helped
Yes, sir.
me kind of structure how I do these pods and everything like that, and kind of how I wanted to go about um, giving people a platform to use their voice talk about whatever they want to talk about. But yeah, man, thank you again for hopping on with me, and thank you guys for all listening and tuning in. This is another episode of Moss Mode and Friends with my guy Nedum. We're signing out.